Good morning, first graders. I hope you guys had a great weekend. We are going to move into our next story, which is Alexander Graham Bell. So we are going to be reading about him this week. We're going to start with our street rhyme, and then we'll kind of move forward in all of our stuff. So go ahead and listen to me as I read the street rhyme, and then you'll read it with me. So it says, if we didn't have electric light, we'd be in darkness every night. If it wasn't for the telephone, we'd often sit at home alone. And if there was no elevator, we'd reach the top floor much, much later. Okay, so read it with me. It says, if we didn't have electric light, we'd be in darkness every night. If it wasn't for the telephone, we'd often sit at home alone. And if there was no elevator, we'd reach the top floor much, much later. So this week, we are going to be talking and singing and reading about ideas that have changed the way that we live. So I know last week some of you guys wrote some inventions that you would make that might change the way or make your life easier, and those were great to read. I saw there were some really good ones in there. But this week we're going to continue to talk about what things have made our lives easier. So things that have already been invented, okay? So what have changed the way we live? So we're going to watch our concept video. After our concept video, we'll look at our page and kind of go from there. Okay, let me start this.
How can a great idea change the way we live? Great inventions start as great ideas, and they have changed our lives in ways that we may not even recognize. Inventors start with a problem that needs to be solved. Then they begin creating sketches and making notes to get their ideas organized. Sometimes inventors need to take their ideas to the public or to private organizations and give speeches to raise money. Then, if they are determined, inventors can turn their ideas into technology. And that's why we have all these great forms of technology that have changed how people live their lives. This week, you will learn how a great idea can change the way we learn, the way we spend our time, the way we travel, and the way we communicate. How do you think a great idea can change the way we live?
All right, so we're going to look at our book page that's going to show us some different pictures. So in here, on this first page, we see this boy and girl on the computer. So if I think about the computer, how has the computer changed the way we live? Well, it's changed in a lot of ways. So it could help us learn. Okay, it can help us communicate because a lot of people do FaceTime things on computers where they talk to people that don't live nearby. It also is a way for some of us to email and do things like that. And right now, it's the way we're learning. So, excuse me, it's made a big impact on that this year at the end. Okay, but we can see a computer as a benefit. Now, is there some downside to a computer? Yeah, some people might spend too much time on that, but it does help us. It does help us with ways that we communicate. There's people that do online shopping on computers, so there's lots and lots of ways computers have made our lives easier. Okay, over here, we have people that have gone to space, okay, and they're doing things up in space that is going to help us where we can talk about good ideas up in space, okay? So they've done some things there. And then down here, we have an inventor that's probably creating something that I don't know what that is, but they have done lots of different experiments in order to figure things out, okay? So that's our pages for today, and we're looking at that. So this week, we're going to be talking about those inventions and about things that are going to ways that we're going to make our lives easier. Another thing that I think about is like the telephone. So we all had landlines for a long time, where that was the only way to communicate, but now they've created cell phones. And cell phones are nice in the aspect that we can get a hold of people when we need to from wherever we are. So if you break down on the road, you have a way to communicate with somebody that you need help. Whereas when I was growing up, I didn't have a cell phone. So if I broke down, I was trying to find a payphone or somebody helping me or something like that, where I was trying to get a hold of my parents. So kind of different things have evolved and changed, and a lot of times for the better. There's downfalls to the cell phone too, though, because people sometimes are too in tune to their cell phone and not the real world. So lots of things as we go through. You can look at both the pros and the cons of some of these technology things that they've done. But I do know, like, an airplane was a great thing that we saw in our concept video. It lets us be able to travel much faster and easier to get where we need to go. So that was a great invention, and I don't really see many downfalls to that. An elevator was great, going all the way up. If you think about those high-rise buildings, going way, way, way up, it would take you a really long time to get up to like the 45th floor or whatever, however tall they are. Okay, so there are some really good inventions that have helped and made our lives easier. So this week we're going to look at our song. So our song is called Everyday Technology. So it's going to talk to us about our technology that we see every day. And there's going to be some amazing words in here, which I forgot to show you. Sorry. Let me set this right here for a minute, maybe. It fell. Okay, so here's our story words. Sorry for this week, our words. So our spelling words here would be words we would be working on if we were in school, but we're not doing them. So, but it's working on that AW that we're going to learn about today. Okay, we have some story words that we'll talk about more on Thursday. Our high frequency words we will talk about today. So those are built, early, learn, science, and through. And then our amazing words over here are determined, inventor, technology, stable, stalled, biplane, sketch, and speech. So today we're going to listen for the words determined, inventor, and technology in our song. And we'll talk about each one of those as we go through. Okay, so those are our words for the week. So in everyday technology, we have our story. It says, it takes a determined inventor to make an invention succeed. But without determined inventors, we wouldn't have things that we need. TV, phone, cars, computers, and other technology change the world. Without those things, where would we be? So we said technology was one of our words. So if I think about technology, like I talked about, we have our cell phones, we have cameras, we have computers, we have lots of different technology that has helped make our lives easier. Okay, so when we think about technology, we can think about those different things that have helped us. Okay, so they help us communicate with people. Here it says it takes a determined inventor. Well, there's two of our words, determined and inventor. So determined simply means that you're going to do something and you're not going to give up. So if you are determined to get something right, you're going to keep trying until you do. Okay, so maybe you are determined to be a really good soccer player. So it means you're going to practice until you get really good at that sport. Okay, so determined just means you're going to keep trying until you get really good at it. The next one is inventor. So an inventor is somebody that just invents or makes things that help us. So I think about our story, the Wright brothers. They invented the airplane. They were inventors. So they were the people that invented something, okay? Or they created something that made our lives easier or better, okay? So we're going to listen to our song, and then we will sing along with it. So I accidentally hit it. Now I've got to go back and rewind. Sorry, give me just 1 second. Because I bumped my computer. All right, so let's listen to our song. And we'll sing with it.
It takes a determined inventor to make an invention succeed. But without determined inventors, we wouldn't have things that we need. phones, cars, computers, and other technology. Change the whole world without those things. Where would we be?
All right. So now,
Would
let's sing along with it.
It takes a determined inventor to make an invention succeed. But without determined inventors, we wouldn't have things that we need. TVs, phones, cars, computers, and other technology. Change the whole world without those things. Where would we be?
All right. So you can see, I'm going to back up a little bit, but you can see in here we have some different technology that has helped us and changed things. So a car, think about way back when they didn't have cars. They went by horse or they walked or horse and carriage. So lots of different changes there. We had the computers, both a desktop and a laptop. Okay, we had cameras, we had cell phones, we had TV remotes. When I was little, guess who was the TV remote? Me. So my dad would say, hey, go turn the channel, because on the TV you just had to go turn the little dials. So that's something new that has come out. So remote controls, even for TVs, are something that eventually came out as technology. Okay, you guys didn't think that because they were already here when you guys came. But when I was a little kid, we didn't have remote controls for our TVs. And so us kids were the remote controls. So our parents would say, go turn the channel, and we would do that for them. So different things have changed as we've come about, as we've kind of evolved with different inventors and different inventions that have made our lives easier. Okay, so looking here, we're going to look at some new skills this week. So we're going to talk about the vowel sounds in ball. So the vowel sounds in ball says ah. Okay, and we're going to see that this week in the AW and the AU. So these both say ah, like in ball. Okay, so here, AW, they have the example of hawk. Okay, so this is a hawk. You can see that the AW is in the middle of the word. Okay, here you have law. Okay, like it's the law to go the speed limit. Okay, so that AW is at the end of our word. Then we have the word draw, and then fawn, like the baby deer. Okay, now you can see that AW is mainly in the middle of the words and at the end of the word. Every now and then you will see the AW at the beginning of a word. Okay, but AW is mainly in the beginning, or I'm sorry, not in the beginning, in the middle and the end of words. And this week, if we were at school doing a spelling test, that's what we would be working on this week, is that AW and where that is. Okay, the second thing that we're working on is the AU. Okay, so the AU says ah as well. Okay, and in this one we have audience. So this is the audience that's at some sort of concert, whether it be a band concert, a symphony, maybe a concert of somebody singing, I don't know. Okay, but we have an audience. Okay, here we have sauce. Okay, so I think about spaghetti sauce. Okay, you might have spaghetti sauce one night for dinner. Okay, here we have a launch. So I tried to think of words that would be something that tied to technology. We launch rockets into space, okay, which is something new. And then we have a month, which is why it's capitalized, which says August. Okay, so here's that AU at the beginning again. So you're going to see AU mainly in the beginning of the words and the middle of the words. You will not see AU at the end of words most of the time. Okay, so we have audience, sauce, launch, and August. So today in our decodable, this is what we're going to be working on. We're going to be working on this AW, AU. U that says ah, like in ball. Okay, but before we go there, I want to look here. So this is my book, and we have some pictures of some things that have that AU or AW sound. So I can see that right here, this little girl is drawing. So draw has that AW that we just talked about. Okay, I can see right here that there it looks like to be spaghetti sauce right here on those noodles. So we have sauce with the AU. Okay, so we have that sauce. Now, back here, we have this woman who is saw. Okay, so she has a saw and she is sawing through that wood. Okay, so there's that AW again. Now going way over here, these two kiddos are on a seesaw. And last week we learned that that was a lever, right? But this is a seesaw that they're going up and down on. And so that seesaw has that AW sound again. Okay, so if you look through here, you can see different places where we can see that AU or that AW sound. Okay, even if you think about it, oh, sorry guys, I keep hitting this. Even here, these are all automobiles, and way over here, and automobiles have that AU as well. All right, so we're going to work on that in our decodable today. So I asked you to have the decodable. It is no one's fault. So it is no one's fault. So with your pencil or your highlighter, whichever one that you have, we're going to highlight our words that have that AWAU. So first off, in the title, right away I see fault. So I'm going to highlight fault. So, sorry, my book wasn't being very good. Okay, so I have fault right here with that AU sound. Okay, when I come down here, I'm going to highlight the vowel sounds in ball, AU, AW. So we have that sounding. So let's look at our words and read them together. So we have Dawn, like somebody's name, that's why it's capitalized. Okay, Paul, coleslaw, flaws, thawed, because, sauce, halls, raw, straw or straws, pause, balls, fault, squawks, crawls, sprawls, and draw. So we're going to look for these words in our story today. Okay, and then you also have your high frequency words that you can read to your parents. So let's go ahead and open up. So this one says, it is no one's fault. Okay. So it says, Dawn and Paul are fixing meatloaf and coleslaw for dinner. Their plan has a few flaws. So we need to highlight Dawn. We need to highlight Paul. And we need to highlight coleslaw in the first sentence. In their second sentence, we need the word flaws. So again, we have Dawn, Paul, coleslaw, and then flaws. So if it has a few flaws, it has a few problems. Okay, let's look here. It says first, the meat. Oh goodness, sorry. It says first, the meat is not thawed. Why? Because Dawn left it in the freezer. Next, the sauce burns in its pot. Why? Because Paul didn't stir it on the stove. Uh-oh. So we need thawed. We need because Dawn. Then we need sauce because Paul. So we had a lot in that one. So in the first sentence we have thawed. Then we have because and Dawn. Then we have sauce. And then because and Paul. So we're seeing all those AWAU sounds that say ah, like in ball. Okay, turn the page. It says, when Dawn hauls the meatloaf out of the oven. It says, when Dawn hauls the meatloaf out of the oven, it is raw inside. Why? Because Paul didn't turn on the oven. Uh-oh. All right. So this one we need Don. We need Halls. Okay. Then we need raw. We need because Paul. So I have Don, Halls, then I need raw. Then the next sentence we need because and Paul. So, whoops, they forgot to turn on the oven. It won't bake if it doesn't we don't turn on the oven, right? It won't cook. All right, the next one, it says the coleslaw tastes like straw. Why? Because Don didn't pause to add oil or spices. So we need coleslaw, we need straw, because Don pause. So coleslaw, straw in the first sentence. This one, because Don and pause. So coleslaw is not going to taste very good if you don't add any spices or some oils to it. All right, the next page. Uh-oh. They don't look very happy with each other. It says, Paul bawls at Don. This isn't my fault. Don squawks back. This isn't my fault. Uh-oh. So we need Paul, we need balls and Don, and then we need fault. Second sentence, we need Don squawks and fault. So Paul, balls, and Don and fault. Then Don squawks and fault. So he's saying, this isn't my fault. Okay. This one says, Don crawls on the couch. Paul sprawls on the rug. The meal was not Don's fault. It was not Paul's fault. They need to think for a time. So they're kind of both upset, and so they need to take a minute to just kind of think and then come back. So we have Don, we have crawls, then we have Paul sprawls on the second sentence. Third sentence, we need Don's and fault. Then we need Paul's and fault. And then that's all. So we have Don crawls, Paul sprawls, Don's fault, Paul's fault. Okay. Back page. It says, later, Paul and Don draw straws to see who will clean up the mess. Uh-oh. So then we need Paul, Don, draw, and straws, all in that sentence. So Paul, Don, draw, and straws. So do they look okay now? Yeah, they look like, oh man, we just made a big old mess and a disaster, but it's nobody's fault. All right. So let's go ahead and read it together really quick, and then you're going to make sure you read it with your parents and talk about why did we highlight those words that we did. And it's because they have that vowel sound in ball with the AW and the AU. Okay? So it says, it is no one's fault, written by Sam Kowalski. It says, Don and Paul are fixing meatloaf and coleslaw for dinner. Their plan has a few flaws. First, the meat is not thawed. Why? Because Don left it in the freezer. Next, the sauce burns in the pot. Why? Because Paul didn't stir it on the stove. So right now it's sounding like both of them have kind of made mistakes, right? When Don hauls the meatloaf out of the oven, it is raw inside. Why? Because Paul didn't turn on the oven. Uh-oh. The coleslaw tastes like straw. Why? Because Don didn't pause to add oil or spices. Whoops. Okay. Paul bawls at Don. This isn't my fault. Don squawks back. This isn't my fault. Don crawls on the couch. Paul sprawls on the rug. The meal was not Don's fault. It was not Paul's fault. They need to think for a time. All right, on the back it says, later Paul and Don draw straws to see who will clean up the mess. So I don't think it was really either one of theirs faults. They both made mistakes and that happens, but hopefully they'll learn from it, right? All right, so you guys are going to read that with your parents. Make sure that you talk to them about why we highlighted those words, okay? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into our books. So in our books, we're going to practice on that A-U-A-W again, okay? So we're just going to circle the word for each picture, and I'm on page 569. So it's just our next page in our book, okay? So this one is pointing to the little dog's paw. So I'm going to just circle that word that has that A-W that says paw. Okay, this one, oh, he's yawning. So yawn. So there's that A-W in the middle. So I'm going to circle that A-W in the middle. Okay, here's a rocket that's going to launch. So here's that A-U that we talked about with launch. Okay, you're going to continue with the rest of these. So this is straw. This is a faucet, crawl, lawn, so this is pointing to the grass or the lawn, and then laundry. Okay, down here, all you need to do is pick a word to finish each sentence and circle the word. So it says, I like pasta with sauce or sash. Well, hopefully it's with sauce. So we're going to circle sauce, and then we're going to write sauce on the line. So S-A-U-C-E. Okay, you're going to do the same thing with number 10. All right, go ahead and turn the page. On the next page, you are going to look at our high frequency words for the week. So our high frequency words are built, early, learn, science, and through. So here, you're going to use these words and finish the sentence with them. So it says, many boys and girls like, and it gives us a clue. So this is our word kind of scrambled up. So we have to unscramble it. But I can see that that word should be science. So I'm going to put S-C-I-E-N-C-E. Okay, so many boys and girls like science. Okay, you're going to do the same thing with the next 4 problems. Okay, and then you're going to make sure your parents turn that in to me. All right, so the last thing we're going to, oh goodness gracious, the last thing we're going to do today is we're going to look at our literacy element. And our literacy element today is going to talk about sequence. Okay, so I'm going to go into our thing. I'll show you that, and then we'll do one more page in your book, but this time we'll do it together, and I'll finish the whole page with you. Okay, and I also have one story that we're going to look at where we're going to think about what happened in which ways. Okay, so kind of the order. So here we have our thing on sequence. Okay, so we're going to watch this, and then we will continue. Okay,
Sequence. A story has a beginning, middle, and end. The order of events is called the sequence.
Okay, I'm going to pause it. Sorry, I forgot to make it full screen. Let me go back. All right, we're going to start it again. Sorry.
Sequence.
Morning.
A story has a beginning, middle, and end. The order of events is called the sequence. This story is about an apple tree. First, we see the tree without its leaves, just as spring begins. Then, as the weather gets warmer, the apple tree's beautiful flowers begin to bloom. Last, the apples are ripe and ready to be picked. This story had a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's important to pay attention to the sequence, or order in which things happen, because it helps you understand the story. Yummy!
All right, so we are going to talk about sequence today, and we're going to listen to a story. And what I want you to listen for are those kind of keywords you heard in our freaking first, then, last. Okay, some other words that you could hear would be first, second, third, last. Okay, or other words that are transition words that are going to help us know what the sequence is. Okay, and then we'll do a page on sequence together. So our story says Earl Dickinson and his wonderful invention. So it says, one evening, Earl Dixon went home to find that his wife had cut her finger while making dinner. It seemed that every day his wife hurt her hand in some way. She couldn't make a bandage for her own hand, so he always did it for her. Another problem was that the bandage he made for her always fell off again when she was working. Earl Dixon worked for a bandage company. He was about to make one more bandage for her finger when he suddenly started thinking, why didn't he make a smaller bandage? Why didn't he make one that would stay on by itself? Why didn't he make one that his wife could put on herself? Earl Dixon was determined to solve the problem. So there's that word determined. He was like, I'm gonna find and figure something out, and he's gonna work until he does. Okay? First, Earl Dixon cut out a strip of sticky paper. Next, he put a small square of thin, light cloth on the adhesive. Last, he placed the sticky paper on his wife's finger. Earl Dixon had become an inventor. He had made the first adhesive bandage. There's that word, inventor. Okay? Earl Dixon showed his new invention to his boss. His boss thought it was a terrific idea and began making them for the company. The first adhesive bandage was made over 80 years ago. At first, the little strips weren't too popular. Then people began to realize how wonderful they were. Today, you can find adhesive bandages in almost every home. They even go into space with astronauts. Adhesive bandages can make almost any cut or bruise heal better. So if I think about that, that's just simply a Band-Aid. So Earl Dixon created a Band-Aid. Now, if I was listening, I heard lots of times where it said first, next, last. Okay, so as I went through here, I heard those words that kept telling me that. Okay, I heard it when he started talking about his process in making one. So first he cut out the sticky paper, then he put the small square of thin, light cloth on the adhesive, and then last he put it on his wife's finger to see if it would stick and to work, and it stayed on. Okay, then again we heard about it when it talked about the first adhesive bandage was made over 80 years ago. Okay, he said at first the strips weren't very popular, but then people began to realize how wonderful they were. Okay, and then today we can find them in almost every store. Okay, so it's going through and showing us what happened in order with those words, those sequencing words. So we're going to practice this in our book. Okay, so here we're going to be on page 571. So it says, read the story and follow the directions. So it says, Mr. Lee's class is going on a trip. First, they all get on the bus. It is going to be a fun day. Then the class gets off the bus at Rock Park Zoo. Rock Park Zoo is a big zoo. Next, the class walks to the snake house. So number 1, it says circle words in the story that help you know the order of events. So we're going to go up in our story. So it says Mr. Lee's class is going on the field trip. Then it says first they get on the bus. So I'm going to underline that word first. I'm not going to circle, I'm just going to underline it. Okay. Then it says it's going to be a fun day. Then we have then the class gets off the bus at Rock Park Zoo. Rock Park Zoo is a big zoo. Then it says, next, the class walks to the snake house. So my words to help me with sequence was first, then, and next that I should have underlined. Okay, here it says 2, write 1, 2, and 3 to show the order of story events. Well, this is going to help us in the fact that we went up in our story and found those words. So it says, the class gets on the bus. So does that happen first, second, or third? So we know they all get on the bus. That happens first. Then it says the class walks to the snake house. Well, when does that happen? Then it says the class gets off the bus. So that would be 2. But then it says next, the class walks into the snake house. So what would that be? That would be third. So that's going to happen third in our story. Okay, and then it says the class gets off the bus. Well, that goes with the then. We know that's our second word that we did. So we know that that happens second in our story. Okay, now down here it says draw a picture of what might happen next. Then retell the story in the correct order. So if they went into the snake house, what might happen? Well, they're probably going to see what? Snakes. So maybe you're going to draw some kids looking at some snakes. And usually when we go into the snake house, like if I think about the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, those snakes are all in cages, which I'm very happy about because we all know that I do not like snakes. Okay? So we know that they're going to be in those cages that we can go look at. And then maybe I'm just going to do some stick figures really quick. I'm just going to make this fast. We're going to see the kids looking at those snakes. Okay? So you can draw that and kind of show that. So then you can see the order of the story. So you can say the class gets on the bus, the class gets off the bus at the zoo, then the class walks into the snake house and they look at the different snakes and maybe even learn about them. Maybe there's somebody there to teach them about those different snakes that are in there. Okay? So today, your job is to read that decodable to your parents, talk about that AU, like in ball, okay? Then you're going to complete those pages 569, 570 on your own. We did page 571 together, so that one's already finished. So I just need those 2 pages turned into me, okay? So I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. All right, bye.